Today we want to try and beat every single Pokemon champion, and there is a lot of them, as Red, but Red from the manga. With some quite unique Pokemon, but not too many to choose from, would he be able to do it? If he does succeed, there's 3 powerful trainers he must face to claim victory. If a Pokemon faints, it's gone from the whole run, and I can't use any items in battle either. Full rules are in the description below. Let's get started. First up is Pokemon Fire Red, and we have the champion for this game, Blue. It looks like a pretty good matchup for us. Our team is pretty balanced between bulk and offense, so I'm feeling good about it. Blue's leaders is Pidgeot, and we lead off with Pika. We outspeed thanks to our fantastic speed stat, but even with a Thunderbolt, we don't do enough to take it out. And in return, we eat a resisted Aerial Ace that still hurts Pika. We can take down Bird Jesus the next turn with another Thunderbolt. However, Blue's answer to our Pika is Rhydon, so we swap immediately into Polly, who doesn't tank an Earthquake as well as I thought he would. However, Polly makes a great start to the challenge by critical hitting Rhydon with a Waterfall, taking down his second Pokemon. Third is Alakazam, and there's no way I'm staying in, so we swap into V, who eats a Psychic. We then outspeed and Shadow Ball for huge damage, dropping his special defense stat too, as he Psychics again, dropping our special defense stat. A final Ghost type Shadow Ball, and we're halfway through his team already. Now Blue sends out Arcanine, and I swap into Snore, who takes a Flamethrower decently. We take another Flamethrower, putting us at around half, as our Earthquake does a tremendous amount of damage, but missing out on the KO. Blue now burns so many full restores, healing up Arcanine, but we always bring him back to the red. Eventually, he decides to stop healing and hit us with a final Flamethrower before he succumbs to Snore's Earthquake. Blue chooses Executor next. We connect a Freezing Ice Punch that does a good chunk to him before an Egg Bomb puts Snore on a sliver of HP left. I now decide to swap into Aero on the Egg Bomb, which does nothing to us. We then proceed to take out the 3-headed Eggplant with an Aerial Ace, leaving his ace and last Pokemon left, Blastoise. But we have an easy switch into Soar, as he misses his attack. We then outspeed and a Giga Drain puts Blastoise low, as he just sets up a Rain Dance. His Citrus Berry heals him up a little bit, but it's in vain, as a final Giga Drain takes down Blastoise, defeating our first champion of the challenge, but there's plenty more to go. Lance is a champion of Johto, and the next we face. Polly will probably be the MVP here, as any sort of ice moves just destroy Lance, but his Dragonites can just one-hit KO you, so we do have to be careful. Lance leads off with Gyarados, and we lead off with Pika. It's an extremely good matchup for us, and a 4-time super effective Thunderbolt just obliterates him. However, this brings out his ace to level 50 Dragonite. Its first move is to go for an Outrage, and it does over half to Snore on the swap. So we then switch into Soar, who also doesn't take an Outrage well either, and he goes to a Sliver, as Dragonite gets confused. This is not good. We now swap into Polly, as an Outrage brings us to 60 HP. I have to hope I outspeed, as this is getting pretty bad. We do, and an Ice Punch puts Dragonite on a Sliver 2, activating his Berry, as thankfully he hits himself in confusion. Lance full restores, but we bring him back to the red with an Ice Punch, before finishing off his ace the next turn. The level 49 Dragonite, we one-shot with an Ice Punch, and thankfully, his last Dragonite missed a Dragon Rush as it outsped Polly, and we one-hit KO it with an Ice Punch. That was close. This brings out Aerodactyl, and we swap to our own Aero on an Aerial Ace that doesn't do too much. We then knock out the prehistoric bird with a Stone Edge. His last Pokemon is Charizard. We miss a Stone Edge, and we tank a Shadow Claw. We miss a second Stone Edge, and we take a Dragon Claw to 40 HP. I don't have any good swaps, so I stay in, and we do finally land a Stone Edge to take out Charizard, in what was a very unconvincing Lance win, but we came out on top. Time to head to Hoenn, where 2 champions await us. In Pokemon Ruby, Steven is a champion. He has mainly Rock and Steel types, and I'm sort of worried about his team. Our team just doesn't swap well into his moves, but let's see how we do. Steven's lead is Skarmory, and we lead off with Pika. We hit the Steel Bird with an Electrifying Thunderbolt to bring him to the yellow, as he Toxics our Pika, putting us on a timer. But the next turn, we take out his first Pokemon with an Electrifying move. Second, he sends out Aggron, and it's a switch to Aero on the Earthquake. We then hit our own Earthquake to bring him to the red, but I forgot it has Thunder, and it does close to half on Aero. Steven now full restores, but we just bring him back down with another attack. A final Shake of the Earth, and that's 2 Pokemon down. Third, he sends out Armaldo. We swap into V, but an Ancient Power does over half, and that's not good. We then swap to Snore, as we take the rocks a little bit better. Our Earthquake is doing close to half, as he keeps throwing rocks at us. We bring him to the red, then Steven full restores, but we're now low too. I opt to Ice Punch, hoping for a freeze, but we don't get it, and another Ancient Power puts Snore on 30 HP. I choose to stay stay in an Earthquake as I know we can get the KO, and we do. On Claydol, I swap into Saw as an Earthquake critically hits, putting us low immediately. However, I know without a crit we can live another, so our Giga Drain does huge damage and heals us in the process quite a lot, as Claydol sets up a Reflect, boosting his team's defense. I choose to Sunny Day now as I don't want the defense raise on Metagross, and proceed to stall it out with Sunny Day and Synthesis. Reflect finally wears off and we Giga Drain, and we're at close to full HP for Metagross. On Metagross, we hit a pathetic Giga Drain, and this is when I decide to try and get him to Hyper Beam, as we have 0 switch-ins. So we stall with Synthesis as he keeps attacking, and eventually he brings Saw too low. I swap to Polly as he goes for an Earthquake, which is best case scenario really. We then Earthquake to bring him super low as a Psychic puts us on only 3 HP. Metagross's Berry heals him, and a final Earthquake takes down his ace. But our team is destroyed, and he still has a Cradilly left. Pika won't take one attack. Our only other option is Aero, who takes a Sludge Bomb. We then hit a critical hit Aerial Ace before an Ancient Power takes out Aero, giving us our first death of the run. We can then send out V, who finishes the fight with a Psychic, but at the cost of 1 Pokemon. That was a tough fight, but there's still one more champion in Hoenn left to face. Our second champion for Generation 3 is Wallace. He's a Water type specialist and has some huge threats, but we have Pika and Saw, so this shouldn't be too rough. Wallace's lead is a powerful Wailord, and we lead off with Pika. A super effective Thunderbolt still doesn't get the KO on the whale, but he hits a weak Water Spout. Wallace full restores, but Pika just takes into the red with a Thunderbolt. I choose to go for a substitute here as Wallace switches into Whiscash, which I predict thanks to knowing these fights. I then Toxic Whiscash as he breaks our sub with an Earthquake. We then swap into Saw, who eats a weak Surf, then I set up a Sunny Day to heal more from Synthesis. We then take out Whiscash with a 4 times effective Giga Drain. Wallace sends out Wailord, and we finish it off with another Giga Drain. Wallace now sends out the bulky Milotic. We critical hit our first Giga Drain as he hits an Ice Beam. Thanks to his Berry, he's out of full restore range, so we knock him out with one more move. Not bad. Next is Tentacruel. Our Giga Drain does nothing, and an Ice Beam destroys our HP, so I then swap to Garrett as an Ice Beam does nothing. We then take out Tentacruel with an Earthquake. Now Ludicolo. I don't want it to set up, so I swap into V as he misses a Leech Seed. A Psychic does fantastic damage as he just Leech Seeds us again. Before the following turn, we can take him out with a Psychic. Wallace's last Pokemon is Gyarados. Our Psychic does over half as he goes for a Dragon Dance, raising his attack and speed. We then take a little Leech Seed damage before V still outspeeds Gyarados and finishes the fight with a Psychic. It's time to sail to Sinnoh. Cynthia is a champion of the Sinnoh region. Her team is a powerful one, but I've got a game plan that should make this a pretty easy fight for us. Cynthia's lead is Spirit Tomb, and we lead off with Snore. Turn 1, our Earthquake does great damage as we tank a Dark Pulse. Our second Earthquake leaves him on just 1 HP as we take another attack. Cynthia full restores as we bring him back to half with an Earthquake. Cynthia then doubles on us into Togekiss as she dodges our Earthquake. We then take an Aura Sphere and fire off a freezing Ice Punch for over half, but we've got to swap now, so now is a perfect time to go into the strategy, V, as on the swap, Togekiss's Aura Sphere does nothing. We then Calm Mind, raising our special attack and defense as an Air Slash brings us lower. Now at a +1 special attack, Psychic takes down Togekiss. Cynthia sends back out Spirit Tomb, but it's weak, so a Shadow Bolt finishes it off. Then Cynthia sends out Roserade, who's weak to Psychic, so that's all it takes to take him down. Now is Garchomp. I'm feeling super confident, so I stay in Psychic, but it misses out on the KO, activating his Berry, but he misses a low accuracy Dragon Rush luckily for us. So another attack, and down her race goes. Lucario, being part Fighting type, can't take a Psychic either and falls to a boosted attack, leaving only Milotic left. It does no miracle, but a Psychic does a great amount of damage as she just goes for an Aqua Ring. This gives V the Cynthia sweep, and getting some time in the spotlight. It's time to head to Unova where 2 champions await us. First up in Gen 5 is Alder, and like Cynthia, he's got a wide range of Pokemon with good type variety. We only have 1 Pokemon with fire coverage, but I think with our type variety, we do have this. Our best lead is Snore, with the only one having access to a fire move, but a Selgor knows Focus Blast and it hurts us extremely bad at the start, but a Fire Punch from our monster destroys him. Alder sends out Druddigon next, and a Freezing Fist does great damage as we take Rough Skin damage and then a payback, putting us low. I stay in and take Druddigon out with another Ice Punch, but Rough Skin puts us on only 36 HP. Out next is a Scavalier, and we took out a Selgor in one hit, so I'm happy to stay in and fire punch a Scavalier, and Snore has swept half of Alder's team. Now is Volcarona. I swap into Polly as he misses an overheat. Volcarona then quiver dances, but our Rot Tomb takes him low and lowers his speed too. Alder full restores, and I Waterfall, critically hitting for the knockout, but activating Flame Body, destroying our attack stat. Alder sends out Bufalon next. I swap into Saw, but a head charge does way over half, and we gotta swap again. So I now go into Gara for the Intimidate as we eat the head charge better. We then hit an Aqua Tail doing fantastic damage as a Stone Edge really hurts us too. A last Aqua Tail and down the Buffalo goes. This leaves Alder's last Pokemon Vanillix, but a Stone Edge from Gara is too much for the Ice Cream Cone and we pick up our first victory over Gen 5. But there's one champion left in Unova to face, and that champion is Iris. The majority of her Pokemon are dragons, and we do have solid coverage for her team, but her dragons are hard hitters. Iris's lead is Hydreigon, and we lead with Snore again. Honestly, he's been great so far. We take a Dragon Pulse decently and return with a Freezing Fist to do massive damage. So after one more attack, putting us at half HP, we take down the first of her dragons with an Ice Punch. Second is Druddigon. We're actually faster, and we critically hit to obliterate Druddigon in just one move. Third is Aggron. An Earthquake brings him to a slither as he just automizes, raising his speed. Iris full restores Aggron now, but we bring him back down. Aggron then hits a double edge, putting Snore low before he succumbs to the mighty Snore. But Iris sends out her ace Haxorus next. It has a Focus Sash and can set up, which isn't good. I swap to Gara for the Intimidate as it does in fact Dragon Dance, so now it's just at a neutral attack. We take a Dual Chop, putting us at just under half as our Ice Fang does massive damage. I don't want to switch into anything, so I stay in and we live a Dual Chop on 2 HP. That was close. Before taking down Haxorus with an Ice Fang. On Lapras, I swap into Venusaur. It does have Ice Beam, but we have Giga Drain, and we're trained to be fast, as a Thunderbolt does nothing to us on the swap. We then Giga Drain, doing over half to the Transport Pokemon before an Ice Beam puts a big dent in us in return. One more Giga Drain and Lapras falls. This leaves our last Pokemon Archeops, and honestly, we outspeed in Giga Drain to activate Defeatus. We barely live in Acrobatics, then the next turn we can finish the fight with a Giga Drain. These battles are starting to get closer and closer, but no time to fret, it's time to head to Kalos. Diantha is a champion of Kalos and who we take on next. Our team is looking really good versus hers as her Pokemon are pretty weak to ice, but what champion isn't? Let's beat her. Holucha is her lead and we lead off with Snore again. He's just proven to be a fantastic lead, although Holucha isn't the best one to lead into. However, Holucha Swords dances, raising his attack as Snore hits an Ice Punch to knock out the Luchador bird in one swift attack. Second, she sends out Gudra. Snore dodges a Focus Blast and hits another Ice Punch, bringing Gudra low. Diantha then full restores, but we just keep on punching. Gudra now finally connects a Focus Blast, doing close to half on our bulky Snore before we take it out with an Ice Punch. Third is Tyrantrum, and this thing is scary for my team. We hit an Ice Punch that does half, and we take a Head Smash to 39 HP as Recoil puts Tyrantrum close to the end. Diantha full restores, so we hit another Ice Punch, this time not even doing half. I do not want to risk Snore here, so I swap into Gara for the Intimidate boost as we luckily dodge a Head Smash. We then Ice Fang to take down the T-Rex. The Ice Dinosaur Aurorus is out next, and it has Thunder, so we make a risky play to swap into Saw as he just sets up a Reflect. We then hit a super effective Giga Drain for massive damage as Aurorus sets up a Light Screen. This isn't good as Mega Gardevoir with screens could be a huge issue. I take down Aurorus with a Giga Drain, and now is Galgeist. I set up a Sunny Day to stall out some turns of screens and make our Synthesis heal us more as Galgeist Trick or Treats, adding the Ghost type into us. Saw hits a Sludge Bomb, not doing much as Galgeist goes for a Phantom Force. So to stop us taking any damage, I swap into Snore as we are immune to the Ghost type attack. I then swap back into Saw as we take a weak Seed Bomb on the switch. We fire off another Sludge Bomb, this time taking it out as the screens are down, but so is the Sunlight, and this leaves our last Pokemon left, Gardevoir. I swap into the only Pokemon that really can take a hit here, V, as Gardevoir Psychic still hurts us considering. We then outspeed and a Shadow Ball just misses out on the KO with a crit as Gardevoir hits us with a Shadow Ball, nearly killing V. Diantha full restores up her Gardevoir, we Shadow Ball again. We now outspeed, so a final Shadow Ball attack from V, and this takes down Mega Gardevoir, beating Diantha and beating Kalos' champion. It's time to head to Alola. In Alola, How is the person we fight to become champion, and he's always one of the most trickiest. His team really does pack a punch, and he has such good coverage too, so we have to be on point with our switches. How's lead is an Alolan Raichu, and we lead off with V, probably the best answer to this threat. We hit a Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt turn 1, but we don't knock it out as it lives on a sliver and hits a really hard Thunderbolt. Howl 4 restores, but we bring it back down with another Shadow Ball. We then go for a Dazzling Gleam to finish off Raichu. Howl decides to send out his ace already, Incineroar. I think a Z move is coming, so I swap into Garrett as he in fact just Darkest Lariats at a -1 attack. This still hurts us though. We outspeed the next turn and deliver an Aqua Tail for fantastic damage as another Darkest Lariat weakens our Garrett even more. We then take out Incineroar with an Aqua Tail, negating the Z move but at the cost of our Intimidate user's health. And now it's Crabominable. I swap into Polly as he misses a Stone Edge thankfully. We then deliver a beautiful low sweep to do massive damage to the Ice Crab as he then hits an Ice Hammer doing nearly half even though it's resisted. On the next low sweep, Howl swaps to Noivern and it looks weird kicking a flying type. I decide to swap back into V, which is risky and we barely survive an Air Slash, but I know I'm faster and a Dazzling Gleam takes out his dragon. Howl now sends out Tauros and honestly my team has 0 switch-ins right now. I make the decision to let V go down in a blaze of glory, but he critical hits his Psychic, taking out Tauros in just one move, so we don't have to lose V. I'll take it. Howl now sends out Crabominable again, but V swiftly finishes off the Ice Crab too. This leaves his last Pokemon Leafeon, but we have the ultimate check for this in Soar. We get hit by a Quick Attack as we swap into Soar. Leafeon then just charms, but that won't affect a stab Sludge Bomb to the face, and with that we beat Howl, Deathless too, but just barely. Super close, but it's time for the switch games now. So for Trace I always sweep him with just one Pokemon, and if that Pokemon faints it's gone, but I heard your feedback, so this time we've got 0 AVs on my Pokemon, and let's see if it boosts his difficulty. The battle starts off by Trace Mega Evolving his Pidgeot into Mega Pidgeot, and we lead off with Pika. Mega Pidgeot's Air Slash does way over half instantly as Pika retaliates with a Thunderbolt that doesn't even do half in return. We've got to switch now, so I decide to go into Garrett as Trace also doubles into Marowak, so we come out of that exchange better off. We then hit a Surf for not even half as he hits a pathetic Fire Punch. We Surf again, but he hangs on this time and he hits a resisted Brick Break. Trace 4 restores Marowak. I go for an Ice Beam, fishing for a freeze, but no luck. I Ice Beam again, but it's doing a lot less damage than Surf did. We're just super weak with 0 AVs. We then take another Brick Break, slowly chipping away at Garrett. The next turn we get a better roll on Surf and take down Trace's first Pokemon. He now sends out Jolteon and we have an easy switch into Soar who dodges a Thunder. We then get hit by a Thunder, still doing a decent chunk to us as our Sludge Bomb is looking like a free hit KO. We dodge yet another Thunder and keep on throwing Sludge Bombs at him. This time we get the Poison, putting him in the red. We dodge yet another Thunder before Soar takes down Jolteon with a Mega Drain. Now Trace sends out Rapidash and we swap into Garrett as the Flare Blitz still hurts us thanks to no abilities. We then take another Flare Blitz to a sliver of HP before a Surf takes Rapidash low too. I have to swap and Polly is our only good swap in as he takes a Flare Blitz a little bit better. Trace 4 restores his Fire Horse, but a huge Waterfall does really good damage to him. Trace then switches into Vileplume as our Waterfall does a little bit to him. We stay in an Ice Punch for great damage as Vileplume sets up a Solar Beam. We swap into Soar on the incoming Solar Beam that still does really decent damage to us. I fire off a Sludge Bomb, putting Vileplume on a sliver of HP as a Sludge Bomb puts Soar really low too. Soar then picks up yet another KO with a final attack. Now Trace sends out Rapidash again and our team is getting whittled down. I go back into Polly on the Flare Blitz who's now at half. Another attack and we are now way below half, but we can finally take down the pesky Fire Horse with a Waterfall. This now brings in Slowbro. We have the perfect and only swap really, Snore, as the Psychic does a bit of damage to us, but we have a really high HP stat. Our Thunder Punch is doing a great chunk back to him as he hits a Surf to put us like close to half. We Thunder Punch again, bringing him lower and lower as we dodge a Surf thanks to the Friendship mechanic that I forgot to reset to 0, so I do apologise. A last Electrifying Fist and only one Pokemon remains, that's Mega Pidgeot. We dodge an Air Slash thanks to the power of Friendship again and bring him to the red and paralyze him. Trace uses his last full restore and we hit him again with another Electrifying Punch. Friendship mechanic comes into effect yet again here on a Heat Wave and Snorlax finishes the fight. Honestly, Trace was much harder this time and put a real dent into my team. We didn't lose a Pokemon though, so it's time to head to Galar. The champion for Sword and Shield is Leon. His team is really strong, but I think we can defeat him mainly due to having a Gyarados, which will annihilate him. So so let's repeat history. Leon's lead is his Aegislash and we lead off with Gara. Now usually I Dynamax this fight, but I'm not using any gimmicks this run. Aegislash King Shield means we can get off a Dragon Dance for free, boosting our attack stat and speed. The next turn, a super effective Crunch takes Aegislash to a Sliver, but we get a defense drop too, as he fires off a Shadow Ball, doing relatively good damage and lowering our special defense stat. Leon full restores the Sword and Shield, but it can't survive now it's not in shield form and dies to a Crunch. Second, Leon sends out Dragapult. It's a risky play going for an Ice Fang as we can miss, but we connect it and we send the Ghost type back to the Ghost Realm. Third, Leon chooses Mr. Rhyme, the Dancing Mr. Rhyme. It being part Psychic type means a super effective Crunch and the dancing stops, and down he goes. Fourth is another dragon, Haxorus. We land an Ice Fang and Gary is showing how powerful it is once again, and takes down the dragon in one freezing Ice Bite. This leaves two Pokemon left. His water starter, Inteleon, is his next choice, but it's pretty frail and we take it low with a Crunch before he Tier 4 locks us, reducing our attack stat. But the next turn we take it down with a final Crunch. Now is his final Pokemon and ace, Charizard. We're at a neutral attack thanks to Tier 4 luck, but I'm way too confident. Leon Gigantamaxes Charizard. We are faster thanks to the Dragon Dance boost, and Aqua Tail just misses out on the knockout, and Charizard knows Max Rockfall, which I completely overlooked. It's far too powerful for Gara, and Gara goes down. That was a stupid way to lose a Pokemon, but Gara went down in a blaze of glory. Now we're in a bit of trouble. Nothing on our team can really take hits from a Gigantamax Charizard, so I decide to try and bait out the rest of his Gigantamax by swapping. I go into Poly to bait the Max Overgrowth, and then I swap to Soar, but he goes for a Max Airstream, nearly taking Soar out, putting us on 13 HP, but Sandstorm is up, so we're going to take Sandstorm damage. This isn't good, but we survive it on 1 HP. That was super close too. I now swap to Snore, our only bulky Pokemon, who gets hit by a G-Max Wildfire, Charizard's signature ability, but we tank it reasonably well. We both take more Sandstorm damage too. Gigantamax ends, and Charizard then connects a Fire Blast, putting Snore low, before we finish the fight with an Ice Punch, losing an extremely powerful Pokemon and barely scraping by. But now there's only one champion left. And the final champion is Geeta for Generation 9 in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. She's got some really unique Pokemon, and we substituted in Victory Bell for the falling Garrett. And our team isn't looking so powerful, but I think we can take down Scarlet and Violet's champion. Geeta's lead is a Sparfer, and we lead off with V. V hits a super effective Shadow Ball that takes out the Psychic Ostrich and just one attack thanks to a critical hit. We now swap to Poly on King Gambit, the powerful Bisharp evolution. However, it can't stand to the might of Poly and falls to a super effective Drain Punch. Geeta sends out Go-Goat next. I decide we can tank one hit and the Ice Punch for great damage, as Go-Goat goes for a bulk up, raising his attack and defense. But Poly doesn't care about this and takes out the Goat with another freezing fist. Fourth, Geeta chooses Veluza, and we let Pika get some time to shine. We are faster than a fish, and a Thunderbolt just isn't enough to take it down, and our frailty shows as a Liquidation takes us to a sliver of health. Not wanting to lose Pika to an Aqua Jet, I swap into Soar, who's had a serious glow up compared to its other 3D model, and tanks it well. We then finish off Veluza with a Giga Drain. Fifth is Avalugg, and there's no way I'm losing Soar either, so we swap back to V. Avalugg has great defense but weak special, and a Psychic from our powerful V takes the Ice Slab incredibly low, as we take a Crunch barely holding on in the red. A final Psychic, and we take down Avalugg, leaving one Pokemon left, and that's our ace Glamora. We swap to Poly as she terastallizes into a pure Rock type, but Poly is faster and we hit a super effective Waterfall to bring Glamora low, as we activate her ability Toxic Debris and get hit by a super effective Dazzling Gleam for way over half. But this means a final Waterfall and we take Glamora down, beating Geeta and beating every single Pokemon champion as Red from the manga. Or have we? Atop of the snowy Mount Silver is a legendary trainer, Red. He leads with a Pikachu and we lead off with V. It's a great start as the Stab Psychic demolishes his lead Pokemon in one attack. Second, he sends out Snorlax and we swap to Poly, who tanks a Crunch. We then reply with a Rain Dance to remove the hail as he Shadow Balls us too. The next turn we connect a Dynamic Punch for a one-hit knockout on Snorlax. Red sends out Venusaur next and we swap back to V on a weak Giga Drain. V then hits a Psychic to demolish Venusaur, and this is looking like a good fight. Next is Blastoise. I swap to Victreebel, who thankfully dodges a blizzard, or that was the end of him. We then reply with a Leaf Blade, and Victreebel shows why he's on the team, and down Blastoise goes. Red sends Charizard out, and I swap back to Polly on a Flare Blitz as it does nothing to us. A rain boosted Waterfall is no match for Charizard, and down he goes. This leaves Lapras, who has a very good moveset. I swap into Pika as a Psychic hurts us bad. We then Thunderbolt, just missing out on the knockout, but Pika survives a brine on 1 HP, defying all the odds and takes down Red's last Pokemon with a Thunderbolt. Team Plasma's N and a champion himself, who also has a legendary. We need to win to continue. N leads with Reshiram and we lead with Snore. Turn 1 a Fusion Flare does quite a bit of damage to us as our Earthquake puts a massive dent into the legendary. He then fires off a huge Hyper Beam, crippling Snore as we take down his first Pokemon with an Earthquake. Second is Klinklang. Thinking I can stay in it misses a Focus Blast, which means it's Zoroark, as we take it down with a critical hit Earthquake. Then is the real Klinklang, who hits a pathetic Flash Cannon as Snore's Earthquake brings Klinklang to a sliver. M4 restores his Klinklang, but Snore critical hits the Earthquake again, and down he goes. Fourth is Vanillix. We survive a blizzard on 10 HP as we hit a Fire Punch to bring him low. We swap into Polly on a critical hit Frost Breath that tickles us basically. We then take out the Ice Cream with a Waterfall. His next Pokemon, Archeops, is a problem. We have limited switch-ins, so we swap to Pika as we survive the Acrobatics on 1 HP yet again. Pika's defying the odds and wants to survive. Pika's Thunderbolt straight up takes out the prehistoric bird the next turn too, and his final Pokemon is Caracosta. It's an easy swap to Saw, who tanks the Aqua Jet. Then we bring him to his Sturdy with a Giga Drain before we take a Stone Edge to below half. A final Giga Drain and we defeat N and defeat Team Plasma. This leaves one champion left to face and probably one of the hardest. Kieran, the most latest champion to be introduced and one of, if not the hardest champion. This has a focus on double battles. Can we beat every champion as Red from the manga? Let's find out. Kieran leads off with Politoed and Dragonite with an emphasis on a rain setup here. We lead off with Pika and Snore. Turn 1 Pika fakes out Dragonite as Politoed's Weather Ball obliterates Pika, putting us on 3 deaths already. You did great, Pika, rest easy. Snore hits a super effective Ice Punch on Dragonite, bringing him to just a sliver, and we get the freeze. That's a perfect start for us. We now swap in Saw for our fallen Pika. The following turn we double into Politoed by Giga Draining him for big damage, as his Ice Beam does nothing to Snore but would have hurt Saw, and a Thunder Punch thanks to the Wakamberry means Politoed survives. Saw then takes out Dragonite with a Sludge Bomb before Politoed Ice Beams Snore again. I mean, I'll take it if you want to do that, as Snore finishes off Politoed with a Thunder Punch. A fantastic start. Now is a monster Porygon Z and Incineroar. Something's going to take a big hit, so I try to predict an Ice Beam and I swap Saw into Polly as Incineroar fakes out Polly before an Adaptability Stab Life Orb boosted Hyper Beam takes Snore out in one hit. RIP to the MVP of the run in my eyes. 4 deaths now and we send in V. With Porygon Z recharging, we need to take it out. V hits a Dazzling Gleam, chipping out both of them before a rain boosted Waterfall takes out the monstrous threat. However, Incineroar's Darkest Lariat instantly takes out V and we're at 5 deaths now, and this is turning around for Kieran. We now send in our Saw and it's a 3-on-3 left. Grimmsnarl sets up a Reflect as Saw's Sludge Bomb brings Grimmsnarl super low and we snag the poison, as Polly's Waterfall does great damage to Incineroar, activating his Citrus Berry, but Polly flinches Incineroar, so our RNG has been great this fight. We now double into Incineroar as Grimmsnarl will fall to poison and Sucker Punches Saw before Saw's Stomping Tantrum and Polly's Waterfall takes down Incineroar. This means Grimmsnarl now falls to the poison too, and it's a 3-on-1 left. Kieran sends out his last Pokemon and his ace Hydrapple. He terastallizes into a pure fighting type, so Sludge Bomb weakens him as Polly hits a Waterfall and flinches Hydrapple again. You go, Polly. We attack again the next turn, bringing Hydrapple to a sliver before we get hit by a Fickle Beam, but Polly absorbs it like the champ he is. This means a final Sludge Bomb from Saw and we take down Hydrapple with our strongest victory over Kieran yet, beating Kieran and beating every single Pokemon champion as Red from the manga. So our total death count was 5 for this run, probably our best one yet. We definitely had RNG on our side this run, especially the last fight, or I think we probably lost to Kieran, but we played it really well and I'm happy with the run. Let me know who you guys want to see next in the comments below and any feedback you have, as I'm always listening and trying to improve the videos. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. As always, if you're still watching, I appreciate it and I'll see you in the next one.